Hey, I'm Dr. Jeremy. Welcome to the Wellness Tip of the Day. Today we're talking about whole grain bread. I love bread. When I eat bread, I make it whole grain. I like the seediest, the nuttiest bread you can get. The more whole grains, in my opinion, the better. I find that when it's regular white bread, I gag, I cough, I overall start to feel icky. But whole grain, now that is another story. Whole grains are really, really good for you too. The more whole grains on the label, the more you should eat them. Numerous studies have shown the benefit of whole grain consumption. According to an article from the Nutrition Source at the Harvard University, by the way, if you haven't checked that out, awesome resource. People who consume 2 to 3 servings daily compared with the groups eating the lowest amounts of whole grains, less than 2 servings daily, were found to have significantly lower rates of heart disease and stroke development, as well as type 2 diabetes development and deaths from all cause. This is a no-brainer. Get your whole grains. You got to
2 to 3 servings.
That's the Doctor of Living recommendation. If you consume one of our wellness programs, that's what we're going to recommend. When we first started on a healthy diet, I tried an elimination diet. All of you should do this if you already haven't already. The way it works is that for 2 weeks, you must eliminate all of the most inflammatory foods within our standard American diet. That's your soy, corn, gluten, eggs, dairy. Those 5 things, cut them out. Some people may try this and find that they're sensitive to gluten. That's not to be confused with celiac disease. That's a totally different ballgame. I hear this all the time, and frankly, celiac disease is much, much more serious than a gluten insensitivity. If you do have celiac disease or are truly gluten insensitive, there are numerous whole grains that are gluten-free naturally that you could consider, especially if you must avoid gluten. This is the deal. You don't want to start avoiding all whole grains just because you happen to have a gluten sensitivity. And if you are celiac disease, you want to definitely get your whole grains in another way. I personally like millet. There is quinoa. There's other options for you. There are multiple. We can talk about them on our website. One note on this topic I hear a lot is don't go gluten-free just to be healthy. If you don't have a gluten sensitivity, you should be embracing gluten. Bring it on. Often people mistake things that are free of substances to be healthier. That is just not the case. You know, I even have people in my family, they buy this gluten-free stuff thinking that they're going to be healthier. They bring it over. No, you don't need to do gluten-free unless you're gluten insensitive or celiac disease. One study from the British Medical Journal showed that out of 100,000 participants without celiac disease, that there was no association between long-term gluten consumption and heart disease risk. On the contrary, quote, findings suggested that non-celiac individuals who avoid gluten may actually increase their risk of heart disease due to the potential for reduced consumption of whole grains. This didn't exclude gluten-sensitive folks either. So this was just your all-comers. The bottom line is that if you don't have a big issue with gluten, you should eat it. It's, after all, a prebiotic for all of those amazing bacterial colonies living within our colons that help our brains to function, help our moods. They provide food for your gut bacteria to munch on. Okay, so if you've made it this far in the Wellness Tip of the Day, we've established that whole grains are good for you. Gluten isn't so bad for you unless you're one of those few folks with celiac disease or a major gluten intolerance. So let's find some yummy bread already. The absolute best, if you can get it, is homemade bread. It's not easy to make, I understand, but when you can get it, it's amazing. I love, 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 love homemade whole grain bread. The next best thing is if you can buy it fresh at the market or the grocery store. And it's got to be whole grains. Remember, you got to talk to them because a lot of times it's not always evident as to how much they have for whole grains when you're buying them fresh like that. If you're striking out on those two, it's time to go commercial. If you're going to buy commercial, the whole grain bread that I prefer is Dave's Killer Bread 21 whole grain label. Wow, unbelievable stuff. If you haven't tried this, tons of whole grains within it, and it's just unbelievable. Sadly, we have had a few loaves over the years that we've bought from the supermarkets locally that were moldy. It's a little weird that this happened, actually, and I'm not really sure that I can blame one particular market because it's happened at a few places. I know that they don't use preservatives, so it could happen quicker, I guess. Alternatively, it could be that they're bagging the bread a little too soon after cooking the bread, and the humidity gets up into it, and then it gets moldy. Watch out for all the mold, but in general, I would say that is the best whole grain bread that I have had commercially. Hands down, literally, my favorite commercial bread. Bread isn't the only source of whole grains, but a couple of slices of bread daily with your favorite topping make for an amazing component to a meal. I personally love avocado on my bread. I smear it on, and then I put a little bit of topping on that. I hope you have a slice of whole grain bread today. I hope you think about Dr. Living's wellness tip of the day. I hope you get your 3 servings of whole grains today. And I hope you have a blessed, wonderful day. Thanks for joining me. I'm Dr. Jeremy. This was the wellness tip of the day from Dr. Living.